Ben Cominos here. I am here with Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks. He actually was on Outside the Box a few short months ago while running for president. We had some conversations about Joe Biden then, and we're going to jump back into it now. Cenk, when you and I were chatting back in November, a lot of listeners of the program were talking about how they thought you were fans of the Democratic Party and Joe Biden, and hearing you talk about his age and viability as a candidate seemed as a slight. 7 months later, where do you feel after that debate performance? After essentially every single day, it feels like another Democrat stepping out. Do you feel vindicated? Did you always see this coming? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, Benjamin, because I was on your show, that's why I ran. Because not necessarily to win, and that would have been great, and there was a tiny, tiny chance, but the main reason was we needed a better candidate. And I thought if I did well enough, given what a long shot I was, that maybe it would force the governors to get into the race, realizing how weak Joe Biden is. And so I think a lot of Democrats have been taught obedience, so they think that criticizing a Democrat means that you love Republicans, because that's what MSNBC says all the time. It's actually a trick, and it actually makes the Democratic Party weaker, not stronger, because none of our candidates are ever tested. So the Trump and the Republicans test each other ad nauseum. They go for each other's throats, and the strongest man wins, and they wind up coming out with, unfortunately, a stronger candidate. Our side goes, no. Keep our candidate in a little bubble. Don't even let him do the Super Bowl interview because his brain is melting. But if you all pretend that he's fine, and they would say he was a dynamo behind the scenes, we got eyes and ears. And besides which, guys, here's what Democrats don't understand. People are not forced to believe the same things you believe. They have a different perspective. And for non-political people, the fact that he is super old was both very obvious and very disturbing. If you can't acknowledge that, you're at an enormous disadvantage in the race because you're not dealing with the reality-based world. But reality is going to catch up with you on election night. And so now people are seeing what I've been saying all along. Obviously, he's too old. If you can't do softball interviews, you can't do debates. And there he was. Imagine if when we were running, or when RFK Jr. was running in the Democratic primaries, we had a debate back then. I mean, there's no, look, for all the people think I'm too loud and they agree, disagree, they hate me, whatever it might be. Nobody thinks that Joe Biden could have withstood a debate with me, right? And so, but if you can't withstand a debate with me, you shouldn't be the candidate. I'm just a talk show host online. And come on, brother, our candidate should be a lion. He should be super strong and be able to eviscerate Trump in a debate. Instead, he gets embarrassed in a debate. You can't win like this.
Can you reconcile the claims that democracy is at stake at the same time as we haven't seen these kind of challenges or any kind of forward movement as far as candidates go? Because that messaging seems to contradict itself as far as I'm concerned.
100%. There's now reports out in Politico, Axios, et cetera, about how the Democrats are considering surrendering, just letting Biden get annihilated by Trump, but saving themselves for 2028.
Yeah.
Okay, so democracy is not on the line, because what do you mean 2028? But the reason why I ran against Biden in that crazy thing is not just because I was convinced that Biden was going to lose. I mean, I study politics for a living. Almost no incumbent in the 30s has ever come back to win in approval rating. He's 15 points lower than when he barely beat Trump last time, et cetera. But also, it's not just about Biden. We need to be able to have a frank conversation and a strong candidate. And so I wish that people would have acted upon it. And it's just weakness to put out a guy and say, don't criticize him and keep him in a bubble.
Yeah, I understand that. Switching gears here to the other side of the ticket, pro-union guy, pro-labor guy, you want to see the best thing for workers out there. Sean O'Brien, president of the Teamsters, coming out in an effort to endorse Trump. I talked about it on my show this morning. It seems like an effort to bring the populist J.D. Vance and the populist movement back to the forefront here. What are your thoughts? Is this a shift of the Republican Party? We're in Wisconsin right now. I don't know if you're familiar with Act 10, but Wisconsin Republicans have definitely put down unions in the state before. Are you seeing a changing the guard with that announcement, or is it a little bit of theatrics?
Yeah, definitely theatrics, but I changed my mind in the middle of the speech as to whether he should have spoken. So I was worried that Sean O'Brien, by speaking, was going to give people the wrong impression that the Republicans are at least 50-50 on unions and labor. They're not. They're the anti-union, anti-labor party. They've always proven it. They've proven it 2,000 times over. So that's why I was like, Sean, I don't know if this is the right move, right? Because it makes it appear like it's a close contest, right? But I changed my mind because he gave an awesome speech. And what he did, that speech was more progressive than a Bernie Sanders speech. I haven't seen somebody take on corporate power like that at a convention in my lifetime. He called them corporatists. He said the elites that you guys hate are corporations. He said that at a Republican National Convention. And he was fiery. He was strong. He stood up for the average American worker. And he delivered that message in the belly of the beast. So by the end, I was like, it was a genius move. And now he also has the credibility to say, hey, listen, I spoke at the Republican convention. So when they do something wrong, he can come out and say, well, this ain't right. Right. And so the other thing he did was gain leverage with the Democrats. So a huge problem we have is something that we were talking about earlier, which is corporate media has told Democratic voters obedience, et cetera. So even if the Democrats never deliver for unions, which they don't, right, every year they say, oh, we're going to pass the PRO Act. They don't even try. They don't introduce it. They make no effort at all. And then every time the unions are like, oh, golly gee, we gave them tens of millions of dollars, but they didn't do a single thing we asked for. Let's give them tens of millions of dollars again. Yeah. So Sean O'Brien and Sean Fain are savvy. And so they're saying, no, okay, you F around, you're going to find out. Yeah. And that's what Sean O'Brien's threat was here, basically. And what that does is it makes it more likely for the Democrats to take them seriously and actually fight for labor.
We're speaking with Cenk Uygur, the Young Turks. Be sure to check him out every day on YouTube. Very similar content to this. Thanks a lot for carving some time out for us here, man.
No problem, Benjamin. And I want to be clear. So far, the Republicans have no leg to stand on helping the average American worker. Like, they have not done that at all. Okay, Trump was anti-unions, anti-labor. He's still anti. And what is the giant thing that they did? Huge corporate tax cuts. What are they planning to do in the next term? Huge corporate tax cuts. So don't believe the hype that they're in favor of the average worker. You have to see it first. But I'm just saying that Sean O'Brien had a smart strategy by addressing this crowd with the most progressive message I've ever seen.
I appreciate the message. Listeners at home can probably tell where I get it. Thanks a lot for coming on here.